Thank you so much, Renee. We'll start off sort of the big view of things. We've got thunderstorms rolling through Mississippi right now, and we've got a few breaks in the clouds out ahead of some of these storms as well. And actually, I think we may have to be transitioning over to active weather coverage right now. Okay, so we got a tornado warning now in effect for Alcorn and Tishomingo County. So for those in the booth right now, we're going to transition from midday and go into tornado warning coverage and keep an eye on things. I'm going to step off screen here for just one moment, and we're going to sort of get situated here. New tornado warning now in effect. This is going to be for Alcorn and Tishomingo counties. The area of concern is going to be just to the north of Renzi. And there's your circulation right there. This is going to be heading toward Indian Springs, Glens, ultimately heading into portions of western Tishomingo County. So we're going to have to stick with this. And let's send things over to Keith. You've got the view of it right there.
Alex, we'll just continue this here. This is moving to the northeast at 40 miles per hour. So this is the first tornado warned storm of the day. Let's go over to let's pop up links one behind me if you can, please, real quick. And we'll go with the situation and just bring it up full screen if we could. Links one full screen. Thank you.
I think that source may have frozen.
Okay, so let's go back over to Alex real quick.
Yeah, so this is what we're looking at right now. Let's go over to take links 2 full if we can. This is the storm that we're dealing with right now. There's links 2, and again, this is the new tornado warning. This is going to go until 12:45, and again, this is going to be for portions of south and eastern Alcorn County, and then for portions of far northern Tishomingo County. And again, the area of circulation.
Oh, and we have a new tornado warning for Oxabaha and Clay County. This goes until 1.
All right, so now we've got multiple tornado warnings that we're dealing with. So let's sort of reset here. We're going to come back down onto this southern storm.
And meteorologist Jacob Dickey is actually on that cell too. So just FYI.
Yeah, so we'll probably try and get something from here in the next few minutes. I'm going to turn the lightning off here, and so I want to go ahead and give folks an indication of where this circulation is. It's going to be near Double Springs and Center Grove. If you are watching us in Starkville, and if you are watching us at Mississippi State University, this warning does not include you, but it does include West Point. And we've got Jacob Dickey live in the field right now. Jacob, what are you seeing?
Hey, Alex, we came across this storm, and I want to say it had some pretty decent structure with it. It looked like the updraft was starting to sustain itself here. What we're looking at right now, I'm inclined to believe this is actually the where the updraft of the storm is here. Above me, I've got clouds going to north. Ahead of me, the clouds are coming to the east there. So I'm really thinking this is the area of rotation that we have to watch. Not seeing a lot here, and I'll pan it over to the right just a little bit. Not seeing a lot of rotation right now at the surface with it, but at the mid-levels, it's definitely starting to spin. So we're going to be watching the storm here and in Oxabaha County as it moves to the north and to the east again. Center Grove is where we're at right now, looking at it here. But definitely we've got a great vantage point, and if something changes, we'll get right back to you.
And again, we're seeing that shot that you've got there. You've got a good view of that thing as it approaches the community of Center Grove. We'll say right now, nobody needs to be traveling on Highway 82 right now in Oxabaha County, basically from areas north and west of Starkville back towards Mathiston. We don't want anybody driving at that point. Area of circulation near Center Grove, crossing Highway 82 pretty much right now. What we've been watching today is that circulation not exactly perfectly co-located with the hook. So you'll see I've circulated that rotation, or I've circled the rotation there. It's a little bit displaced. You would actually expect to see it further down here, but based on the shape of that, you've got that hook right there. The Weather Service does believe that this thing's moving into an environment that would be favorable for tornado development, so they're going to go ahead and issue the tornado warning there. That's going to be for Clay and Oxabaha counties, northern Oxabaha and southern Clay. That goes until 1 p.m. That's going to include places like Double Springs, Center Grove, Cedar Bluff, West Point, FIBA. Again, that goes until 1 o'clock. The other warning that we're dealing with is this northern storm, and that's going to...
There's a new tornado watch coming out here soon.
There, we knew that there was some discussion of a tornado watch that was going to be issued, so we expect to see that pretty soon here. So we also have this warning here. This is for Alcorn and Tishomingo counties, and this area of circulation near Indian Springs moving northeast. I'm going to pop up the storm track here. This puts it into Indian Springs in 5 minutes. I'd say probably closer to 2 or 3 minutes. If you're watching us in Burnsville, you've got about maybe 7 to 10 minutes. And Cook's Landing, this thing's going to be moving there about 12:29. I'd say maybe subtract 5 minutes off of that just to be safe. But the BTI on this has bumped up a good bit. That's a scale from 0 to 10, and that BTI number to 7.5. So that's certainly an indication that we've got a strong rotation here, and we could get a tornado out of this. We're continuing to watch this. We'll pop on the shear rate, and you can see some of those reds popping up here just to the southwest of Indian Springs. This thing's going to be crossing Highway 72 here, probably near the community of Glens or just east of there, pretty close to the Alcorn-Tishomingo County line. Then it'll be moving into northern Tishomingo County towards Crossroads. This may stay just a hair north of Burnsville, but it's going to be too close to call. If you're watching us in Burnsville, we want you to get in that tornado safe place as well. So, you know, Keith, both of these storms looking rather impressive, both of them posing a tornado threat.
And
right.
They're both of interest here. I guess my source is frozen over here. Let me go back to you. I'm going to try and joggle a cable or something, but I think I'm going to go back to you real quick, Alex. Let's bring up links to full screen, and let's move the carts over there real quick.
Yeah, so let's sort of try and get situated here. Again, if you're just joining us, tuning in for midday, we had a couple tornado warnings pop up right as we started the show. So we're sort of transitioning here from our regular news coverage into tornado coverage. For a couple of tornado warnings, we've got one for portions of northern and northwestern Oktibbeha County and Clay County. That's going to go until 1 o'clock. That's the storm you're looking at right there. The other warning is for Alcorn and Tishomingo counties. That's going to go until 12:45. We've got that shear marker there. You can see that. That's an indication that we've got some rotation in this storm. I'm going to turn that off just so you can get a better view of what the sort of the structure of this thing looks like. And if you can pop me back up in front of this, thank you so much. Again, there's your hook right there. That's Community Center Grove. Jacob Dickey is watching this thing. If there's anything to see, he's going to have a view of this. He was watching this from Center Grove. It's now lifting north and east of there. This is going to be out of Oktibbeha County within the next 5-10 minutes. That's Jacob's live feed there, so he's probably repositioning at this point as this storm lifts off to his north. So that's what his view is of this thing. He did not tell us that he saw anything down, so that's a good indication right now. That's a good sign. If there was anything to be seen, he probably would have had a good view of it based on where he was. There is some circulation associated with this, moving north of Center Grove. If you're watching us in FEBA, we want you to go ahead and get in your tornado safe place. You're the next community in line. The circulation is right here, FEBA, just off to the north and east of us. So this is going to be coming pretty close to FEBA right now. And it's probably going to cross State Highway 389 either in or just south of FEBA. We'll pop on the shear rate here. It's not overly impressive, but there's enough there, and especially when you get sort of a hook like this, you do grow concerned that this storm is at least organizing itself in a way where it could produce a tornado at any minute, even if it's not doing so at the moment.
Let's go back to him and see what he has to chime in with.
All right.
Jacob, you there? There he is. Okay, so Jacob's out on this southern storm, right, Alex? We can just keep this feed up, and we'll just kind of voice over it here.
Hey, can you guys hear me? I'm not sure if you can hear me. I can't tell if I can hear you guys. Maybe someone in production can let me know. We got a wall cloud that is on the storm now, north of 82, coming into far southwestern Clay County. I'm going to get north on 389 from Scottsville and looking to see this storm here. So I just wanted to let you guys know, very much rapidly organizing here. Heads up for folks that are in Clay County.
Stay with that storm. We're also working on. We got somebody actually in West Point right now. We'll be working on getting a live shot set up there. Newly issued a tornado watch for parts of our area here. This goes until 7 o'clock. Alex, I'm going to send it back over to you. I'm still having an issue with my Skycam over here. So.
And again, so Jacob now letting us know that we've got a wall cloud on this this storm here that is moving out of northern Oktibbeha County into portions of southwestern Clay County. You see the new warning update there. This is for far northern Oktibbeha County. So if you're just tuning in here, you're watching us in Starkville, you are watching us back into Sturgis, Oktok. This does not include you. This is a far northern Oktibbeha County issue, and ultimately this thing's going to be lifting into Clay County here in the next few minutes. There's some broad rotation here showing up on radar, and the Weather Service does believe that this storm here, you see the hook, is organizing itself in a way where it could produce a tornado here in a matter of minutes. So if you're watching us in the community of FIBA, we want you to get in your safe place, and this is ultimately going to continue moving north and east from there towards places like Griffith, Cedar Bluff, and ultimately, depending on how this tracks, could impact the community of West Point. As of right now, it looks like it might stay a little bit north of downtown West Point, but if you're watching us there, again, you need to start thinking about getting in your safe place just in case this thing takes a right-hand turn. That's the first storm that we're dealing with. The second storm that we're dealing with is this one here, moving out of Alcorn County and into Tishomingo County. And again, we've got a circulation east of the community of Glens, right there. That's your circulation. This is north of Highway 72. It's going to continue to lift north and east towards Doski, Crossroads, High Point, and Cook's Landing. So far northern Tishomingo County is what we're talking about here. This is going to cross State Highway 365, probably somewhere just a little bit to the north of Burnsville. And it's probably going to cross Highway 25 somewhere near Doski. So if you're watching this there, we want you to get in a tornado safe place. Not necessarily as pretty looking a storm on the radar. Not much lightning in this. All you can see, we just got a couple of bolts right there. The southern storm doesn't really have much of any lightning at all. It's more of a rain shower, but again, does have impressive structure. It has that hook shape, so we're going to continue to watch it as it continues to move north into Clay County. We're probably about 3 to 5 minutes away from giving northern Oktibbeha County the all clear. Stick with us. If you're south of FIBA in Oktibbeha County on Highway 389, right before it takes that turn back off to the east, you want to stay in your safe place. But if you're watching us back towards Center Grove, you're good at this point. I really don't think this is going to be an issue for places like Bells, but again, you're technically in the warning here. It looks like it's lifting north of you at this point, though. So we're going to continue to watch this.
Yeah, let's just, I'll take over for a little bit, Alex. I'm going to hop on over to our Viper source here. I'll just be off camera real quick. If we can go up Viper, I got the MDOT camera in West Point pulled up, and we're looking here with the storm. It is approaching the vicinity of West Point here in the not too distant future. So this is a view that we have with the MDOT camera there. So we'll be watching as the system comes back in a little bit closer to home. And again, Jacob is out there. Let's go back over to our radar here and see what's happening. Here's the big picture. We have a batch of showers and storms, some of which have been producing rotation, and these are moving off to the northeast. The air is becoming a little bit more unstable in northeastern Mississippi and eventually into West Alabama too, especially northwest Alabama here as we go throughout the next couple of minutes here. So let's bring back on our radar, and you can see some of these storm cells here beginning to pop on up here across our region. The strongest storm cells, like you said there, Alex, really beginning to move into parts of Clay County, and also lining up here west of 45A, east of Montpelier, south of Okolona. These all have to be watched. And then there's this the Prentiss County storm that is now up here into northern Tishomingo County. So these are the three, or the couple of batches of storms that we're going to watch, especially these cells here lining up along 45A from Okolona down to west of West Point. Alex?
I just want to point out, we do have that tornado watch that's now in effect. This is going to include most of our area. If you're off in the western portion of our area, you may not be in this watch, but this is going to be Alcorn, Prentiss, Tishomingo, Itawamba, Lee, Union, Pontotoc, Calhoun, Webster, Chickasaw, Clay, Monroe, Lowndes, Oktibbeha, Choctaw, Attala, Winston, Noxubee, Leake, Neshoba, Kemper, Pickens, Lamar, Fayette, and Marion counties. That's going to go until 7 p.m. Now, I'll say, especially for some of our Mississippi counties here, I don't expect this to last that long for us. That 7 p.m. expiration time is probably going to be more important for some of the folks off in the north and north central Alabama. But for right now, that watch is in effect until 7 p.m. And we do have those warnings in effect as well. 2 tornado warnings that we're keeping our eye on right now. This one, which is for far northern Oktibbeha County and Clay County, that goes until 1 p.m. That's for a circulation basically near the community of Phoeba. There's the circulation right in there. It's a little bit noisy. The shear rate may not clean it up too much. You can see a little bit of it right there. So we do have a circulation there near the community of Phoeba, lifting north and east towards Griffith. Ultimately, this may stay north of West Point, but if you're watching us in West Point, especially if you know it's going to take you a few more minutes to get in your safe place, we want you to go ahead and start doing that, just in case this thing makes a little bit of a turn to the right of the mean flow. And as you were saying, Keith, we do have some more interesting looking cells into northern Clay and into Chickasaw counties. All this stuff's going to have to be watched. We also have this tornado warning that is for Alcorn and Tishomingo counties. Now, this is going to be mainly just a Tishomingo County issue at this point. The storm has exited Alcorn County. There's your circulation right there. There's your couplet. That's approaching the community of Dostkey and Crossroads. That's going to be headed there within the next 10 minutes or so. So if you're watching us there in northern Tishomingo County, we want you to get in a safe place. Meteorologist Jacob Dickey is on this storm moving into Clay County. I believe we have Jacob on the phone. Jacob, what are you seeing right now?
Hey, Alex, we are heading north on 389 from Starkville. That's going to take you into rural southwestern Clay County near Phoebe and in some of those communities. If you're looking right in front of us right now, this is the wall cloud that's been coming together. About 5 minutes ago, when I was heading east, it looked a lot more organized. It seemed to fall apart just a little bit, but still has a very distinct lowering right in there. What you're seeing is some of those clouds that look like they're floating there. That's called scud clouds, but they're feeding in and rising into that storm there. So as we turn the corner here, trying to keep that camera on and keep our eyes on things. So we're going to watch this and follow the storm up into Clay County. We'll send it back to you in the studio.
All right, Jacob, thank you so much. So again, we've got a wall cloud on this thing. That's a sign that there's some organization with this circulation here. Now, I do want to point out, not every wall cloud produces a tornado, but it's usually a precursor. So we're going to have to continue to watch this cell as it pushes off to the north and east. I'll say now, based on the latest scans we've gotten, if you're watching us in northern Oktibbeha County, this storm has lifted north of you. The warning's still technically in effect for far northern Oktibbeha County, but this is now a Clay County issue. Your circulation there's your hook. That's moving off to the north and east. This is ultimately going to be approaching the communities of Cedar Bluff and Griffith and Siloam. If you're watching us in those areas, you need to get in your safe place right now. The area of circulation is near State Highway 50, lifting to the north and east. We'll have to see. Highway 50 here sort of takes a northward bend once you get past Cedar Bluff. We'll see if it re-intersects with it. I tend to think it's going to stay north of that northward turn in the highway. We'll keep our eye on that. And again, we're keeping our eye on a couple of other storms. No tornado warning for this one in northern Clay County, and it doesn't particularly look all that organized, the velocity product. But again, you can see sort of a hook there. So those will be storms that, while they don't pose an immediate threat, bear watching. All these other storms in an environment with a decent amount of wind shear today, so they could start to spin. And again, we do have the tornado warning for northern Tishomingo County, area of circulation near the community of Dostkey and Crossroads. And we're starting to get to a point where we're going to lose good radar data. You can see that there. But this thing's going to continue to push off to the north and east and ultimately cross into northwest Alabama and portions of southern Tennessee in the next few minutes. But if you live up towards the community of Crossroads, Cook's Landing, High Point, we want you to get in your tornado safe place up there in the northern Tishomingo County as well. Again, we're going to sort of have a couple of storms that we're watching right now, a couple of storms without warnings. But again, the tornado warned storm, one of two that we're keeping a pretty close eye on, is this one moving through Clay County. The Weather Service in Jackson saw what we saw, that this storm's lifted north out of Oktibbeha County. The tornado warning for Oktibbeha County is canceled, but the warning does continue for Clay County. It's for a circulation just to the west of Cedar Bluff, approaching the community of Griffith. So if you're watching us in Griffith, this circulation is probably going to cross State Highway 46 pretty close to you here in the next few minutes.
And Alex, just to chime in real quick, those northern storms just north of there, they look pretty impressive, but the from a let's just go back, just stay over here on Lynx 2, please. The signatures look impressive from a radar standpoint, but the velocity is just kind of a wash.
It's not there. So it's something we'll watch it. Again, to be honest, Keith, the circulation that's in Clay County doesn't look amazing, but with that kind of a signature, it does bear watching as we go through the next few minutes. Right now, I'll say, for northern Clay County, no imminent tornado threat here, but we're going to watch that cell.
There is some sheer rate showing up there, a little bit of color there, just along Highway 8 there. But it's not a lot there in northern Clay County.
Almost looks like just the other day, Keith, where we're not getting those good, strong rotation signatures in these storms. They look a little more muddy. Again, we're dealing with 2 warnings right now, but again, you can see there's a lot of storms lined up further to the south and west into Choctaw, Attala counties. We'll have to watch those as they continue to move north and east as well. And again, the reason we're here is for a couple of tornado warnings. This one in Clay County, area of circulation near the community of Griffith and near Griffith and Cedar Bluff. So if you're watching us there, we want you to get in a safe place. This is lifting north and east. Again, you see the hook there. This is lifting north and east, ultimately towards the communities of Abbott and Siloam. If you're watching us there, we want you to get in a safe place. If this holds together, this would move into southwestern Monroe County. Again, no guarantee it's going to hold together that long. If it does, though, this would move into Monroe County and would approach communities like Prairie and ultimately places like Aberdeen. Again, no warning there. We're still a little ways away from that being an issue, but that's something we'll watch as these storms continue to lift north and east. The other storm we're watching is this one. This is a tornado warned storm in northern Tishomingo County. This warning goes until 12:45. This storm going to continue to lift north and east out of Tishomingo County into far northwest Alabama and far southern Tennessee. Area of circulation may be kind of hard to pick out here at this point, but it's near the communities of High Point. And again, that's lifting north and east out of here. So if you're watching, it's in High Point, Parker Landing, near Old Steel Road and County Road 458. We want you to get in a safe place right now. So we've got a circulation on that's moving north and east towards you. That thing's going to be out of the state of Mississippi here probably within the next 5 to 10 minutes. And then we will be down to 1 tornado warning that we'll be dealing with, and that'll be this one in Clay County. Again, this tornado warning goes until 1 p.m. and the area of circulation near the community of Griffith. It is not the most impressive looking circulation we've seen on velocity. That's our circulation there. But there's enough there, and again, you do have sort of that suspicious looking appendage in the southwestern flank of the storm. So there's enough there with the environment we have today that the Weather Service does believe a tornado could develop out of this storm. And so because of that, we do have the tornado warning that we've got for Clay County. Again, if you're watching us in Griffith, we need you in a safe place. Abbott, we need you in a safe place. I will point out that this thing is going to stay north of West Point. West Point no longer the tornado warning, so if you're watching us there, this thing's going to stay north of you. But it is going to approach portions and go through portions of central Clay County. Keith?
Let's go over to our Viper computer real quick. The folks at MDOT have moved the camera looking back to the west. That's actually at the corner there at the Love's Truck Stop, Burger King, Walmart, looking back to the west. Again, from US 45 alternate in West Point right now. So that's a live view looking back to the west here on our Thursday afternoon, 12:25 here. So we'll continue to watch this and see how things roll as that storm gets closer and closer to the city of West Point. And we do have a reporter in West Point right now. Joey Barnes is coming on in.
Yeah, on the north side of West Point is photojournalist Ronnie Smith. We should have his live shot we can bring up.
Okay, so if we have his live shot there in West Point, live 2, we'll try to get to Ronnie Smith. So this is a live view northwest Point right now, looking back up at the clouds there and watching the storm roll on in. So we got this thing covered, here, and there's the view right there. So skies darkening.
Let's take Viper back. It looks like the folks at MDOT sort of zooming in on what may be sort of an area of interest on that MDOT camera. Yeah, so they're sort of scanning things here. So this is looking back from Highway 45 alternate back behind the Walmart. So we're looking back towards this thing. They're looking back towards the rain right now. And they're sort of scanning the skies here. You can see there's a little bit of a clearing and some lowering there back behind the Walmart. So that's what we're watching to see if it can get itself a little more organized. The good news so far is we have no indication that we've had a tornado touchdown at this point.
The velocity doesn't look as impressive as it had.
So right now, the storm, again, still looks like it's trying to get itself organized. It has that appendage. There's obviously at least some broad circulation here to get that rain to wrap back around like that. But we haven't seen anything get organized enough to drop anything. It doesn't look like at this point. We've got no damage reports coming in. There are a lot of eyes on this as well. We've got some professors from Mississippi State University who've got eyes on this. They're noticing that wall cloud that Jacob saw a little bit earlier. So again, if something's about to happen here, we're going to hear about it. Thankfully, so far, a lot of eyes on this storm. No confirmation of anything going on as far as the tornado just yet. So some good news there. Having said that, again, the folks at MSU noticing a wall cloud. We've seen the wall cloud on Jacob's stream. You want to take this seriously. If you're watching us in Abbott right now, in Siloam, we want you to get in your tornado safe place right now, because while we don't necessarily have one right now, we could at any minute. So you want to treat this thing with a lot of respect here. So we want you to go through your tornado safe plan right now. And so let's go over what you need to do here. If you've got a basement or storm shelter, you're set. That's where we want you to go. Lowest floor. If that's underground, that's the best place to be. If you don't have that, we want you to get in an interior room in the lowest floor of whatever building you happen to be in. If it's your home, that's usually going to be a bathroom or closet. If you're in a business, probably the same thing, bathroom, closet, some sort of walk-in cooler, something like that. You just want to put as many walls between you and the outside as possible. Again, at this point, no confirmation of a tornado, but you want to go through this anyway, because we could see one develop here as this storm continues to move off to the north and east. And can we go back over to
Viper real quick? Yeah.
Let's go back over to Viper and take that full. And again, we're sort of watching that lowering that you're seeing. This is an MDOT camera that is looking back off towards the lowering associated with this storm. They're sort of zooming in here and sort of scanning that lowering a little bit.
And that's out there. Let's see. That is West Point there. Let me just do a little measurement here. That would be about 6 miles northwest of downtown West Point.
Okay.
So there's that lowering right there, but there's nothing rotating, and there's that we can see.
We certainly can't see
and nothing reaching the ground.
Can't see any organized rotation in any of that. So that's a good thing. There are some signs this storm's been trying to organize itself over the past 30 minutes or so. It just has not done so in a way that would support it dropping a tornado as of yet. Can you guys pop me in front of this? I just want to point something out here. If you can pop me in front of that Viper feed, again, see if we can get that source back behind me. I just want to point out, they were zooming in on stuff like that. That's just what we call scud. It's sort of fool's gold in a way. There's no rotation in any of those fingers there. So you'll see some lowering. Sometimes we'll call these scary-looking clouds. There's no rotation evident in any of that at this point. So we'll watch that kind of stuff, but right now we don't see any real rotation in that. So with that in mind, again, what we're looking for is actual sort of, in this situation, it's going to be left to right movement. In those clouds. We don't really see that right now.
Yeah, and like the rotation with this just does not look as tight as what we would want, which is always a good thing here. And this is I'll come back in a little bit closer to home here, but we don't have that classic red and green couplet, which would be somewhere in that vicinity here. For reference, there's West Point right there, but we have that appendage from a radar perspective, but from a wind perspective here as we analyze the storm and what we just saw with that Skycam there in West Point, there's a lowering here but we just don't have that rotation ongoing here. But let me go up to a different level and see if we have a little bit of additional spin going on. So as we go up to a couple of different elevations, there's some broad rotation with the storm. This is a little bit higher up in the storm that I've swapped up our data to, but at the lowest levels, we just don't really see it, and that's where we would be most concerned for obvious tornado development here. So 12:30 here on our Thursday afternoon. I'm Chief Meteorologist Keith Gibson, meteorologist Alex Puckett doing a great job here as we've been navigating some of our computers here. Jacob Dickey out in the field too. He's on that storm, and we'll try to get back to him when we can, but just going down the line, that's the only warning we have. Some of these other storm cells that go back down into Webster and Atala counties here, there's not a lot of lightning with this. There is some from a rotation perspective. There's still some, let's just say, some small areas of embedded circulation within these storms. One southwest of Kosciuszko. There's another right there southwest of Ware. So there's little pockets of rotation with some of these showers here and thunder showers. But from a radar perspective, even with these cells that we were trying to watch north of our Warren storm, there along 45 alternate, we are not looking at any of those green and red couplets right there where some of those interesting signatures were. Alex?
Keith, just want to point out for the folks who may be watching us in northern Tishomingo County, the tornado warning is still technically in effect, but the storm that is prompting that warning has lifted off into northwest Alabama. So if you're watching us over towards Crossroads, High Point, northern Tishomingo County, you are in the clear at this point. Now, we do still have the active tornado warning for Clay County we're talking about. And Keith, as you mentioned, we do have a couple of areas of interest right now. I would say one in Choctaw County. Again, not anything imminent, but something we're going to have to watch. That's north of Ackerman. Another one into northeastern Atala County, and then another one in southern Atala County. Again, these are just things that indicate storms may be trying to get a little bit better organized. So we'll continue to watch those as they move north and east. And see if they get a little bit better organized as they do move north.
Yeah, and let's go back to that Viper camera real quick where the MDOT camera is still focused on that lowering, a definite lowering there. We're looking back to the northwest from about where the Love's truck stop is. There's the new Popeyes there in front of Walmart. This is in West Point, right along 45 alternate. So northwest of West Point, that's where we have this lowering ongoing. But from this vantage point, we don't see any violent rotation there at the lowest levels, and that kind of goes along with the radar imagery we've been looking at. I mean, from a storm perspective, it looks interesting. From a wind velocity perspective, not necessarily so much. So that's good news there. Let's hop on over to our Lynx One computer here. Here's our Tupelo Skycam, and I want to just show you we have some wet weather coming on in. This is not severe or anything, but we do have some ominous clouds and some wet weather here in Tupelo at this moment. We'll do a little Skycam tour for you. Back in Columbus, we are looking back off to the west and northwest and some of that activity in that direction. Down in Louisville, where we've had a little bit of rain, we're looking back to the northwest. And let me move this camera in Louisville over just a little bit. I'm going to move this back to the west just a tad. And we'll see if we can't see anything. You can also notice there's a little bit of blue sky showing up in some of this eventually here as I move it around. So there's been a little bit of sunshine that popped out here today. We got breezy conditions, still some wind energy in the atmosphere, so that's why we're getting some of these storms. Alex, back over to you.
Yeah, can we take the MDOT camera, the Viper source full, please? I just wanted to point out that that we got a report from a spotter in the National Weather Service chat that they think there may have been a possible tornado near the intersection of Highway 50 and 47. And so the MDOT camera looking at that lowering. We don't have confirmation. It's just, again, something that they thought there might have been some evidence for it there. We'll continue to watch this really, really closely. The velocity product doesn't look great with this, but the person that put that in the chat is someone I would trust if they said something like that. So hopefully, again, we don't have control of that MDOT camera. You can certainly see the wall cloud right there, though. You've got that lowering there on the MDOT camera, and it's going to be hard to see anything. This is moving away from that camera at this point. But again, if you can pop me back in front of this and put the Viper source behind me, we'll sort of point out what we're looking at here. That's your wall cloud, that lowering right there. So we're looking for anything that's sort of dipping down below it. And again, you can see we got low contrast in this situation. It's going to be hard to see anything. The area of circulation is now east of Highway 47. This is moving into Monroe County at this point. So we're pretty far away from this thing. We're not going to have a great view of it here, but we're going to continue to watch that camera, see if we can make anything out. If there's anything to be made from the radar, it still has that hook in it. So there's still at least some broad circulation there in the mid-levels. We do still have that lowering, that wall cloud that we're watching. But as of right now, again, not a confirmed tornado, but there's a spotter that again knows what he's looking at here. That said there was at least a possible tornado a little bit earlier in Clay County. So we'll continue to watch that, Keith. I have not seen...
Yeah, and I haven't seen a new extension on that. It's getting close to the county line.
Yeah, so again, we'll have to sort of see what the Weather Service in Memphis decides to do this. Again, you're watching this with us. And this is what we've got to work with here with this storm as far as any camera view. This is it. This is view from West Point. And again, we're looking back at this lowering here to see if we can make anything out. But as this thing continues to move away from us, this may be one of those situations where we're going to have to turn back and rely on the radar. Obviously, if we get a camera view like this is our first choice to try and see what's going on, especially if we can get a view of a lowering like this. But if we can't get that, we will use the radar.
And just real quick, if you're driving around here, we are being simulcast on our radio group partners, Nash 94.9, 103.1, 99.9, 1230 AM 106.1, and also if needed there 107.1 down there in Louisville. So if you're driving around this afternoon, if you want to stay with us, that's where we're at. In addition to here at WCBI TV, WCBI TV /live on our website. And we'll try to get you updated information. The Tishomingo County storm has slipped away, so we don't really have to worry about that. We continue to watch these storms, Alex, as you've been nicely describing, going down, but non-severe. The activity here that goes from Boonville to Tupelo, we've had some folks asking about Boonville. Looks like you're now in the clear here, and none of this is warned. Just some heavy rain, some downpours. As we look at the velocity signatures and some of this, it just doesn't look like there's a lot to be had with some of that. It's just some of these other squirrely cells. And again, that lowering there in West Point looks interesting from a visual, but we're not necessarily getting any good reflectivity or good velocity signatures to show up there. We're watching a little bit of a broad rotation there southeast of Eupora. And the other little area here, areas, would be just around Ware and just south of Kosciuszko. And those are moving to the northeast. So here's a little bit of a lapse on that. You can see those little couplets, one right there near Ware, the other one south of Kosciuszko. Those are lifting to the northeast. They're not warned for any reason at this point, but it's an item of interest today because so the way some of these may work is that we may get a couple of really strong storms, and most of them probably won't go severe. Alex?
Keith, two things. First thing is Calhoun and Union counties have been dropped from the tornado watch. Storms are now east of there, and we now do have a tornado warning for Monroe County, so they are going to extend this in to Monroe County. This is going to go until 1:15. This includes Aberdeen, this includes Hamilton, Lackey, this includes Benford. This does not include Amory. This does not include Smithville. The circulation is going to go through southwestern and then central Monroe County. And again, this has not been the most impressive storm we've ever seen by any stretch of the imagination, but it has had a persistent sort of mid-level circulation. It has had sort of a persistent hook to it. This is the low-level look. Not that impressive. There's not going to be much here on the shear rate. Not much to see here, but it has had a persistent lowering. It's had a persistent wall cloud. Because of that, the Weather Service is going to extend this warning into Monroe County now. So right now we don't want anybody on Highway 45 alternate coming north from West Point into Monroe County, and we don't want anybody on Highway 45 alternate driving south from Egypt into Monroe County. So basically from Egypt to, I'd say, West Point, North Gate, we want you to stay off the roads. If you're listening to us on the radio and you're sort of in that swath there, we want you to go ahead and pull over and try and find a sturdy shelter and a site-built structure to shelter down in. This is going to be heading towards Moldon here in just the next couple of minutes. Again, the shear rate, the velocity products not showing as much. This is going to be a situation where we may have to use the reflectivity a little more. And you can see that hook there that's in the southwestern flank of the storm. That's where you would expect this thing to be. This is lifting north and east towards the community of Moldon, and ultimately, if it holds together, would approach Aberdeen. Might stay a hair south of it, but again, if you're watching us in Aberdeen, we want you to start thinking about getting in that tornado safe place at this point. We're not going to have a view of this anymore, I don't think, from the West Point camera. We're just getting too far away, and as it pushes east, we're going to be looking back up into the rain. So unfortunately, this is going to be something where we're relying a little bit more on the radar. We'll also be relying on the spotters as well that are looking at this thing right now. And, of course, Jacob Dickey is out in the field. He's got eyes on this storm. So we're going to continue to watch this as it moves northeast into Monroe County and moves through Monroe County right now.
There's still a lowering there. I think there's a lot of folks buffering into this DOT cam network that's kind of slowing things down. Jacob, you're on the phone. Tell us what you got.
Hey, Keith. We are in West Point now, coming into the north side of the town. I think the area that we're going to want to look at is going to be off just to the right of the screen. It looks like it has crossed east of 45 now. Maybe the radar is just a little bit behind it here, and I think we're going to get a great vantage point. You mentioned earlier, you talked about Highway 47 and Highway 50 in Clay County where there may have been that possible report. When we did drive through there, we did not see any damage, and there was no emergency crews out and about, so have not seen anything like that as we're here. Now, here we go. We're going to get a great look at this here. I don't see anything on the ground at this time, but it is definitely getting lower still right in that area, right behind the gas station here. And once I get through the north side of West Point, you'll see that right there is where that area of suspicion is. Hard to see if it's rotating. I will say there's a little bit of greenish color to the sky. I don't know if we've had hail reports or anything of that. That may be something to watch, too, if this updraft is a little bit more powerful here. So we're going to keep going north here and snake our way into Monroe County. Reporting in West Point, I'm meteorologist Jacob Dickey. Back to you.
Hey, Jacob, thanks a lot. Stay on that storm. It looks pretty good. We don't really see any violent rotation there with your imagery there, but it does look very impressive, definite lowering there. And if nothing else, there's a lot of heavy rain with it. Looking at our hail radar signature, I don't really detect a lot of large hail in that, but there still could be some hail within that storm cell. So, Jacob, just south of that storm right there, as it begins to lift to the north of West Point right here. So it's slipping to the northeast. Those of you in Aberdeen, right there along 25, heads up between 45 alternate and Aberdeen right now. We're along 25. That's where the heaviest rain was that you just saw with some of that imagery that Jacob was just showing you. Let me just tell it straight. So Jacob was showing you this part of the storm right here. A lot of rain coming in on that leading edge right there. So for reference, there's the city of Aberdeen here. And it is all coming in your general direction. This whole storm is lifting to the northeast at about 35 miles per hour. So let's do a quick storm track on that. And that would put it in Aberdeen by 1 o'clock. So there's the storm cell there. There's Aberdeen. Out ahead of it, heavy rain, lightning, thunder, a little bit of rotation there on the back side of it, but not clearly what we would expect if we were going to have like a big large tornado to develop rapidly out of this situation, at least from a visual that we just saw and from this radar perspective that we're looking at now. Let's go to our shear rate. And it really just does not look very impressive, but a lot of things that we look at from radar, you know, may not look impressive, but the visual is key, and that's why Jacob is on that storm. That warning goes until 1:15, again, for another 30 minutes. This could be trying to cycle back up and maybe get a little bit more organized. So we will watch that. So if you're just tuning on in, tornado warning for Monroe County, that does include Aberdeen, until 1:15 this afternoon for that particular storm cell. There's a whole host of other little cells and showers going on. That's the only one with lightning, though. So let's just talk about this for a quick second. The only storm that is warned has lightning with it. All of the other storm cells you see here really don't have a lot of lightning with it. And that's always one of those things that we look at for some of these storms to develop. If they have more lightning with them, or if the lightning's ramping on up, that's a sign that the updraft could be intensifying a little bit. and maybe a stronger storm cell. So the other ones back down the line that go down to Choctaw and Atala County don't really have a lot of cloud-to-ground lightning in it. There could be some cloud-to-cloud lightning in it, but those at this point do not pose any serious threats, but we still watching out for a couple of areas of rotation within this, at least some broad rotation, southeast of Kosciuszko, and again showing up there in and around the Ware area, but not necessarily co-located where we would expect it to be if we were going to have a tornado situation. So those cells are items of interest, non-warned showers that have a little bit of rotation, Atala County, Choctaw County, also northwestern like Tipaha County, but the storm of concern at this point is the one that has all the lightning with it, and that is up here moving into the city or close to Aberdeen. So at 35 miles per hour, it's marching right up Highway 25. And at this point, we don't have any confirmation of any reports, right, Alex? There's been no damage reports that have come on in here.
No, and thankfully that spotter that was looking at what he said, you know, not sure, but it could have been a tornado. Jacob went through that area, didn't see any damage, so hopefully we got out of there without any issues. I do want to point out that this is not a tornado threat here, but probably some gusty winds east of Tupelo in Lee County. This is going to be ultimately moving over into places like Mantachie, Richmond, and Fulton as it pushes off to the east. You can see those greens next to the reds, but I'll pop on the shear rate here, and you see that sort of line of green here, some gusty winds in this. Don't think it's quite to the level of a severe thunderstorm, but again, certainly a bit gusty with that shower pushing through eastern Lee County. I'll also point out that we're watching this particular cell moving back into Tishomingo County. Again, no warning with this. Some weak rotation showing up to the north and west of Tishomingo in this cell. We'll watch it. Again, the only thing right now that seems to pose an immediate threat would be this Monroe County storm. And so if you're watching us right now in Benford, Aberdeen, Athens, and Lackey, we want you to get in your safe place. Again, there's your circulation right here. That's that hook. Again, we haven't seen any strong evidence of rotation when we pop on things like the shear rate, but this thing has had a persistent lowering. It's got some persistent rotation in the mid-levels. We've seen a wall cloud with this thing for a while at this point. So as it continues to lift north and east, we're going to continue to stick with this thing and stick with it as long as it's got a warning on it. Again, this is probably one of the situations where there's no warning at the moment, or no tornado, excuse me, at the moment, but one could develop rather quickly in the environment that we've got. So with that in mind, we're going to keep an eye on this. Jacob Dickey is up on the phone, and we got a live shot from Jacob. Jacob, what are you seeing right now?
Hey, Keith and Alex. Keith, you just mentioned Highway 25. The storm is marching right on up. We are marching right behind it up Highway 25 towards Aberdeen. We're on the backside here, so it's probably harder to see, and there's some rain coming down on the backside as some of the rain curtains try and wrap around there. It is hard to see if there's anything on the ground, maybe in the camera with all of the trees in the way, but with my eye, I cannot see anything touching the ground on this. That doesn't mean the threat is over. That doesn't mean there's not a threat with the storm, but just what it means is right now perhaps we're okay in the fact that this storm may not be producing a tornado. But, you know, we have to monitor it and keep our eyes on it here. A much better view here as we've gotten through some of these areas here. If you're familiar with where 45A splits with 25 north of West Point, you can get a better view in that area. Trees are not our friend in this part of the state. And this area here with some of those farm fields and whatnot, right over there where the camera shot is pointing, you maybe can see a little bit of that lowering that's hiding behind some of that rain. We're going to keep our eyes on things. And, of course, we've got news looking to see if there's any damage reports. Haven't heard anything in the field. If there is something, we'll reporting southwest of Aberdeen in Monroe County. I'm meteorologist Jacob Dickey. We'll send it back to you.
Thank you so much, Jacob. And for reference here, where Jacob is back of the back side of this thing. So he's looking at it from back over here, and he's having to look through all the rain. The area of interest is over here, and then Jacob is somewhere back out in here. So because of that, he's not going to have a great view of this. He had a really good view of it in Clay County, but as he repositions, the storm's east of him now, so he's going to have to wait till he can get back out off to the south and east of this thing before he can get a good view of it again. With that in mind, Again, he's looking through a lot of rain. He still says there may be a little bit of a lowering there. We still have, again, that sort of appendage in the southwestern side, southwestern flank of this storm. That's moving towards Benford right now. So if you're watching us there, we want you in a safe place. So heavy rain falling in Aberdeen right now. It looks like this circulation is going to stay south of you if you're watching us in Aberdeen. A little bit of a close call here, but again, it looks like the area of greatest concern is going to stay south of Aberdeen. It's crossing through Benford right now. Ultimately, this is going to head towards Lackey and cross Highway 45, not Highway 45 Alton, but Highway 45, somewhere near the community of Lackey, and then ultimately continue to lift north and east. I'll tell you what, Keith, we're going to have a decent view of this thing because if it continues to track the way it's going to track, it's going to come pretty close to the radar site in Monroe County.
It will. And real quick, I want to show you our satellite perspective. This is the infrared satellite. And typically when these storms explode, we'll see some oranges and some reds on here. And right now we're just seeing some gray and some blue. So these updrafts are not necessarily the most robust that we would get on a given severe weather day. The air's unstable, yes, but we're just not getting a lot of those super tall clouds, those really cold clouds to develop. So that's another thing that we'll continue to monitor. And also notice that we don't really have a lot of lightning in general here, at least cloud to ground in that view. So that's one of those things here this afternoon that we will continue to analyze. Now, I should mention that things could be a little bit more interesting over here into parts of northwest Alabama as these storms shift over here. We actually have some strong low-level wind energy still with us now, but it is quickly lifting to the northeast. So as we get into the afternoon, the battle is going to be how much of that is left and how much unstable air can tap into it. And the focus zone here is going to be with time over here in the northwestern Alabama and areas east of 45. So this whole line looks like it's going to be taking the rest of the afternoon to slip on through. Real quick, if you were expecting to see our noon show today, well, we were interrupting that for severe weather coverage. But our Futurecast model, our high-resolution version here, doing a decent job. And it basically takes this activity through our area as we go throughout the course of the afternoon. There's 3 o'clock, still lining on up from, let's just say, the GTR area in east and southeast. But by 6 o'clock, basically it's all done for us with the activity slipping over into Alabama. And things will start to dry out and quiet down here. So really between now and about 6 o'clock, that's our abbreviated window of severe weather potential here this afternoon. So just consider that for what it's worth as we go throughout the course of our Thursday. Here's our Alpha Insurance camera in downtown Columbus. We are looking back to the north. And we
Keith,
have
we got a new tornado warning for Tishomingo County. This is going to go until 1:30. So that's that cell that I pointed out to you a little bit ago that we were keeping an eye on it. And there's your circulation right now. This is north of Tishomingo, north of Paden. And that's it right there. There's your circulation. That's the area of concern. This is not going to stay in Tishomingo County very long. So if you're watching us over in Oldham and areas generally along and south of Iuka, this is where that warning is going to be. This thing's going to cross Highway 45 pretty close to the intersection of State Highway 364. So Highway 45 runs north-south right here, and then this is State Highway 364. So the circulation right there at that intersection moving north and east. Ultimately, this is going to be pushing towards Blythe Crossing and then out into far northwestern Alabama. So this is not going to stick with us for too much longer. The warning goes till 1:30. I cannot imagine the storm's going to stay in Tishomingo County all that long. But we'll pop on the shear rate. Again, you can see that we're popping some of those brighter greens there. And we're looking pretty far away from the radar site here, so we're not going to get a great structural view of this thing. Sort of the opposites here. We've got a better-looking couplet here, a better-looking signature on the velocity product, but the actual rain, the reflectivity product, doesn't look all that great. You go further south into Monroe County, we have much more better structure here. We've got that hook-looking appendage, but you go over to the velocity product, and it doesn't look all that impressive. So sort of a couple of different things going on there, a couple of different radar presentations. This is likely going to cross Highway 72 near the community of Oldham. Sits right there. So the circulation is here. That's the motion. I'll put a track on this for you and sort of track this out here. So Oldham by about 102. Buzzard Roost by about 109. Georgetown 117. That's as it's moving out into far northwest Alabama. So this thing's going to be out of the state probably in about, another 20 minutes, maybe 30 minutes at the longest.
It's going to be quick.
It's going to be pretty quick. This is not going to stay with us all that long. Again, I'm going to sort of err on the side of caution there, say 20 to 30 minutes. It may be a little bit faster than that, to be honest with you. But again, if you're watching us in Tishomingo County, this is not going to include the areas that were in the warning earlier. If you're watching us in Burnsville, Crossroads, this does not include you. This does not include the community of Tishomingo. This does include Iuka. The circulation is pretty far to the south of Iuka. We'll watch this as it moves northeast, but I tend to think Iuka is going to be on the clear here. Still, again, this is one of those situations where I like to say if you know you're someone that's going to take a little bit longer to get in a safe place, you may want to start doing that if you're in Iuka. But short of that, if you're in Iuka, this may be sort of a watch and see here for the next couple of minutes to see if this storm takes a left turn. If it does, then you're probably going to want to get in your safe place in Iuka. If not, it should stay just off to the south. Keith?
Yeah, and I just want to give another quick update on the southern storm here near Aberdeen. The little circulation, there's going to be one, is going to be just southeast of downtown Aberdeen, which is right there. So basically near Lackey, lifting up to the northeast. There's Highway 8 right here. And for reference, that is the radar site there northeast of Monroe County. So out ahead of it, we have some heavy rain. And the circulation, if it's still there, we've been watching that lowering. That is lifting. It looks like the worst of the weather with tornado potential is going to stay now southeast of downtown Aberdeen. But it's going up Highway 8. So those of you along Dan Taylor Road, Highway 25 there, obviously already under the gun with the rain and the lightning. Let me turn some of this lightning off. And up towards the Athens community, there's Schoolhouse Road right there and Beeks Road as we get closer and closer to the radar site up there at Greenwood Springs. So that is the big mass of rain coming on in. Tornado warning here for Monroe County until 1:15. It doesn't look classic from a radar perspective, but we'll continue to watch it. I do want to show you this, though. There's been a couple of other items of interest, one of which is this area of rotation, which is just north of Ackerman right now. No warning with that. But we will continue to watch it with that circulation there. Jacob is on the phone. Jacob, what do you got?
Hey, Keith, we just passed through Aberdeen right now and are coming back on the east side here. We'll cross the river and then head up towards Gatman and the Quincy area is where that radar site is. Again, we've had the rain that has been in front of us here. If that area of rotation is there, we'd be looking at it right now. But unfortunately, the rain is hiding it. I can say that we have seen some areas of suspicion lowering in this here, but hard to tell if it's rotating at the surface. It does look like a loft on radar. Maybe it is just a little bit. So still want to consider this as a dangerous storm as it moves off to the north and east here from Aberdeen. We're going to be following it that way. I do want to mention, too, I had a viewer that messaged me and said that they had some trees down. They had a picture of it in the Center Grove and Highway 50 in Clay County. So that was earlier. We'll have to look into more on that location there and see what is up with that. But we're going to keep our eyes on things here. Before I go real quick, I'm going to pan the camera back over to the right here, and you might be able to see the edge of the storm just a little bit better there as we're getting ready to approach Highway 8 and Highway 25 where it turns north towards Amory. One other thing to note here is that we've had a lot of rain, and there's a lot of water on the road here. So if you're out driving, you're listening to us on the radio, take it slow. We're making sure we take it extra slow out here because the water on the road may very well cause some folks to hydroplane here if they're not being cautious and things like that. So continuing to watch this storm here. In fact, we're coming over the Tenn-Tom waterway right now. You might be able to get a better view of that right there, what we're thinking could be this area. Very suspicious looking, well worth keeping an eye on. We're going to follow this storm up through central Monroe County here for the next 15 minutes or so. Reporting in Aberdeen, I'm meteorologist Jacob Dickey. We'll send it back to you in the studio.
Let's go back to that feed real quick while we're going over that bridge so we can see the better perspective there. So as we're up there on the Tenn-Tom, we can see the back edge there of the base of the cloud there. There's that lowering there. That would be that circulation center lifting to the northeast. So Jacob's on the tail end of that, following that, but we don't necessarily see any actual lowering there reaching the ground.
Keith, we're getting
Alex?
a new tornado warning, Choctaw, Clay, and Oktibbeha County.
Okay.
This is going to include Starkville and MSU.
And that is that circulation we were watching back out to the west towards Ackerman. So
yeah,
there
so
you
this is
go.
going to include Starkville. This is going to include Mississippi State University. This